everyone. Thank you very much for watching today. And today I have a very inspirational and special guest, Mr. Paul Boggie, author of From Heroin to Hero. This man is a true inspiration in so many ways. It's difficult to put into words, and that's unusual for me. After recovering from heroin addiction, Paul actually joined the army and has worked for the Scottish Guards, including performing sentry duties at Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace. And as I mentioned, has published the book From Heroin to Hero. All proceeds go to charity for ending homelessness in Scotland. This man is on a mission, doing everything from counselling current and former addicts, I believe, Paul, that's correct, isn't it? Are you doing
Yeah.
quite a bit of counselling, being a general inspiration on social media on just about all counts, obviously promoting his book to quite a variety of causes. And as I've already said, this man's an inspiration. So Paul, I do just want to say a big thank you for obviously making the time to talk with me today. Really appreciate it, and I'm very excited for this interview.
Well, thanks very much for having me on, Liam. I really do appreciate you helping me to spread the word or spread my story to try and help people. And that's massively important to me. So thanks very much.
My pleasure. So
I just had some good news that the prison went and bought 24 copies of my book.
Yeah, I saw the post.
I'm over the moon about that. And I've been invited back in as well. So on my first visit to the prison, Liam, I've obviously done something right, because not only have they bought 24 copies of my book, but they've invited me back in as well. So things are moving along steadily, much slower than I hoped for. Patience is one of these things that I'm not very good with. So when I finished the book a year ago, I instantly thought that the prisons would be buying my book, and I would generate all the support all around the world. Then I quickly realised, obviously, that's not realistic. So I've done 26 podcasts all around the world now. It's great and it's good fun sharing my story, with people in America, people in India. It's an amazing feeling to be reaching out to people that far and wide. It's an important message. I believe it's an important message that I have for people. I think it's important that people see me, hearing that I used to be a heroin addict and suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts and tendencies for quite a lot of my life, to having me sitting here in front of you, Yeah. And obviously I'm in good health. I do have a crushed spine, which was an army injury that I sustained, which is the reason why I got medically discharged. But I'm not on any drugs at all now. The spinal specialists and the doctors, the army doctors, they all told me that I would be on opiate medication, tramadols and codeine for the rest of my life. And the best thing that I can do is accept that. That was a bitter pill, pardon the pun, to swallow, because I was addicted to codeine tablets whilst I was on heroin as well. So to be put back on these medications and being told for the rest of my life, it crushed my spirit. I very quickly became sort of depressed again. That whole wallowing in my own self-pity, feeling sorry for myself day after day, that became a regular occurrence in my life, and I just didn't feel very good about what I was doing or where I was at. That the whole army, being a guardsman, standing outside Buckingham Palace and doing all those amazing things, that seemed a bit like a dream. Did it really happen? Because I'm back in Edinburgh now, taking loads of drugs, getting out my face on drugs. Was it just a dream? And and it's just such a hard thing to. I almost felt, Liam, like I went full circle.
Yeah.
From the start, went right back round, and then I'm back to being drugged. So I've been over a year. When I finished the book and I published the book, I decided I don't know what my back is going to be like without these drugs. Because from the moment I broke my back and crushed my spine, the doctors gave me drugs to cope.
Yeah.
So I went for years on the doctors say so, as most people do, and I continued to use these drugs. But I've got an addictive personality, so it was only a matter of time before I came addicted to these drugs. So, when I finished the book, I decided I'm going to try. I didn't put too much pressure on myself. I'm going to try and quit all the drugs and just be drug-free. So it took me probably about a month, maybe just a little over a month of tapering down, sorting my mind out again. And, I'm over a year now. And I feel amazing for it, because that was just a dream. That was something that professionals were telling me I wasn't able to achieve, and I have. So I'm not saying everybody that's suffering from physical pain is able to not take the medications that they're prescribed. All I'm saying is that I did. And that's important message to people to maybe consider, because these medications that people take on a daily basis are harmful to our life, to our bodies. Just because they come from a doctor doesn't mean they're any less harmful than heroin or alcohol or any other drugs, cocaine. Doesn't really matter. When we put drugs into our bodies every day, it's harmful. So I just want to put that out there to people in the masses, in the hope that it can maybe inspire or trigger someone else. Certainly just me being here alive today talking to you is proof in itself that, and then obviously I did always take a copy of the book with me, but that's me.
Yeah.
After a heroin addiction, that's me. I'm not making it up, and hopefully people see that and think, well, I'm on heroin right now, like Paul was. And if he can turn it around and go and join the army, then maybe I can go and become a hairdresser or a lawyer or a counsellor or whatever it is. Maybe I've got that, and it's that motivation that I believe people need, that inspiration for people to really look at their lives, look at themselves and go and get it. It is possible, and it's all in the mind. Sorry, Liam. When I start, I should have pre-warned you before on Messenger. When I start going on about my story and stuff, and I get in that zone and in that mode, I talk for Scotland. I'm sure you can have it. I'm sure you're never aware.
Brilliant. It is brilliant. I mean, honestly, Paul, that's a fantastic insight. Really inspirational. And I mean, what a way to start.
Okay.
All right, then. So let's talk about your book itself before we're going to start at the present and then go back in time. Now, your book, as I mentioned, all of the proceeds are actually going towards ending homelessness and this sort of concept. Can you explain a little bit about what happens if people buy the book? Into your story, but I know you've got a copy of it there. And I just want to explain to people how that works, what buying a copy of your book actually means in terms of supporting your cause. So could you give that a little mention for us, please?
Yeah, so I do have a copy of the book here, Liam. There it is. So basically at the moment, my book is only for sale on Amazon, ebook and paperback. And at the winter time there, I bought military sleeping bags. I travelled all across Scotland, delivering them to homeless people on the streets, talking to homeless people on the streets about their addiction problems. And that was something that I'd done personally myself. As things are starting to grow and more copies, I think I've sold over 1,000 copies of the book now. There are homeless charities in Scotland who are helping to combat homelessness. I just donated £3,000 from the sale of the book to those to Cyrenians in Edinburgh. They're doing amazing work to help homeless people. I attended a course through Sirenians myself as a heroin addict about the mind, which allowed me to beat my heroin addiction 17 years ago. So it was very good for me to be able to support Sirenians and give them £3,000. I am donating to other smaller organisations that are helping homeless people at the moment. I can see on social media that they're out there and they're doing amazing things. They're out in the streets, they're feeding homeless people and they're giving them things. So through the sale of the book, you know, that's where the money is going at the moment. I'm in the process of setting up my own charity. That is a lengthy process. There's loads of paperwork and you need trustees and all that sort of thing. So I'm in the process of doing that at the moment. But until then, what I don't want to do is to have money in my account from the sale of the book sitting in my account. It makes no sense to me when there's people out there that can use the money to do some good. So over the last month, I've sort of been scouring all over my social medias and picking out the people who I believe are doing the best work. Mostly the ones that use volunteers, people that give up their time to help. That's the ones that I really want to get behind. So I've found some, I'm donating, and then I will continue to do that until such time as I can set up my own charity, you know, and then I will build my own team around that. And that's how I look to go forward, Liam. You know, it is time consuming. Like I said, you know, patience is one of these things that I have to try and learn every day, but it's not easy. The time will come, you know, and I will get the support that I need and I believe that I deserve. I do believe that, and that's why I'm on social media, I suppose. It's not easy talking about my life, opening myself up to the world, you know, and to get criticism as well. That's part of it as well. And it's one of those things that I'm in a good, strong mental place now where when the criticisms come in, I suffered quite badly from anger issues. And I believe that that's why we're even talking now, is because I used boxing as a way of combating my anger management, my anger issues that I had. I used boxing training. I wasn't very good, but I trained every day, and it allowed me to feel better about myself. And I think that on social media, I believe that's probably how our paths are crossing. It's because I've got a lot of boxers on my Facebook, and a lot of people like yourself influential in the boxing world. But yeah, so I'm just chipping away slowly but surely every day. Just keep trying to raise awareness. I'm making a documentary about my life. Again, I wanted that happening last year. We will get there. I've done a couple of days filming so far. I'm going to make a feature film about my life. So I've already had some pretty epic actors like Leo Gregory messaging me saying that he would be honoured to play me in my feature film. And I remember reading it thinking, wow, like I watched him in Green Street and Wild Bill and all these amazing films. I've watched him growing up. And to get a message on Instagram from him saying that he supports me and he thinks that I'm an inspiration, you know, that's proof that what I'm doing is worthwhile. Just keep going, and more people like that will hopefully look in on my story, see that I'm a genuine guy. You know, there is no corruption here. I don't make any money from the book whatsoever. It's that whole integrity thing, you know, that obviously that I get from the army, but other people may initially look upon me and think because I was a heroin addict for 7 years that I could somehow still be, you know, on drugs or up to no good or a thief or a liar or a cheat, you know, because that's a perception that people have in society, unfortunately, of heroin addicts, is that everybody is like that. It isn't true, I can assure you, because I'm I'm one, and I wasn't even like as badly as people do think. Even when I was on heroin, I wasn't a bad person. I had friends who robbed their granny's televisions to go and buy heroin. I knew people who held people up at knife point to steal heroin and money off them. It's just not me. But I do understand that is part of that drug world. Certainly, when you're in addiction, that some people will go to no lengths to feed their addiction. So it's not me. Wasn't me back then. It's certainly not me now. I just want to do some good in this world. I want to give back by being brutally honest, sharing my story, writing it in words so that it's here long after I'm gone. And hopefully people who are suffering from addiction problems, hopefully I can help them. And hopefully I can help educate people who have never suffered from addiction, who human nature judge in a negative way. It's only human nature. Hopefully I can help those people to understand the life of an addict a little bit more. And that's the feedback that I've got from the book, is a lot of people that have never suffered from addiction problems have messaged me and said, like, Paul, wow, you've opened my eyes. My nephew or my son or my daughter's struggling with addiction. And I never really thought about that, and it's like you're making people think a little bit more about the problems that people are suffering from. So, yeah, sorry, I do go off in one way. Yeah, so hopefully that answered your question, mate.
It answered it and then some. Paul, I mean, like I said to you before, that passion, that power, I love it. I respect it so much. And it's one of the big reasons I wanted to talk to you. Obviously, what you represent and who you are as a person, but that passion that you have for what you're doing, it comes over, even on social media, even on your posts and comments and videos. So it's really good that we're getting that across today. So, honestly, don't apologize. Now, another thing with this, you mentioned the perception of addicts and everything like that in the public eye. Now, this is something I wanted to talk about a little bit to tackle, because there is that perception. I mean, we've probably all seen train spotting and things like that, and we have a certain idea. When you meet people, obviously, and when you've lived life a little bit, it's nothing's really black and white, and it doesn't really work that way. But in your own words, can you talk us through a little bit about your life when you were actually an addict? And again, not too much to spoil the book, because everyone watching this, honestly, buy a copy of the book. It's all in there. But just as a little overview, I want to touch on what your experience of being an addict was versus the public perception, if you get what I mean, the differences, how you felt, how it even feels to actually take heroin. I mean, anything to give people an insight into what it really is, not what the media sort of rose it up to be, if you get where I'm coming from with this, Paul. Anything you'd like to say about those 7 years?
So the first 2 years of my heroin addiction, I worked full time. So that's the first thing that I want to say. I worked full time, 9 till 5, whilst I was a heroin addict. And I was able to hide it from family, friends, work colleagues, for the most part. I used to blame it on my sinuses. I've got the flu. I just don't feel well today. The truth of the matter was, I was sitting chasing the dragon in the toilets when I was supposed to be delivering mail throughout a building. I had the heroin in my sock, and every time I seen a toilet, I used to go and sit in the toilet and sit with a tin foil, and I used to chase the dragon. And that lasted for 2 years. Then, physically, the body obviously starts to break down. You start to get the darker circles under your eyes. You start to lose a lot of weight. Your mood changes a lot. And then it became more apparent that I was going to struggle to keep a full-time job. But I needed money. Heroin addicts need money. Everybody needs money, but, heroin addicts need money. So I got some jobs, delivering Chinese, delivering Indian, whatever I could to keep funding my heroin addiction. Then when that ended, I started selling cannabis. I was smoking cannabis myself, and all the circles that I mixed in, and all my friends, all smoked cannabis. And they were going away and buying cannabis from Tom, Dick, and Harry. Then I got an opportunity from someone that I know, said, well, I'll give you a 9 bar. I'll give you a week to sell it, and then you give me the money for it. So I had nothing to lose back then. So that's how I ended up funding my heroin addiction for years. Was I was selling cannabis to all my friends, and you know, that allowed me to get the money in, so that I didn't have to go and steal from supermarkets like what all of my friends did. They used to go and steal batteries, packets of bacon, and steak from the supermarkets. And like I said earlier, some of them did go down the sort of quite evil route of robbing family and robbing people at knife point and stuff, which is horrible. But you know, that was how so selling cannabis was how I funded it. My whole life is you hide away. You withdraw from society because society sort of spits on you a little bit, you know, because you're a heroin addict. And when word gets out on the street that you are a heroin addict, people cross the road to get away from you. And people look at you and then look away and make out that they never looked at you in the first place. And you say, hiya, and they ignore you. And it's, you know, I understand it. I understand why society has people like that. Or the problem is you can't put everybody in the same boat. Because as crazy as this may sound, some of my heroin addict friends are amazing people. They're funny, you know, and they wouldn't harm a fly. They're just funny people, and they're just lovely, big-hearted people who made a wrong choice and unfortunately became addicted. But they would not commit these horrific crimes that heroin addicts are known for committing, you know. My life, hiding away from society, hiding in the house, my whole life was revolved around sourcing heroin. And obviously, to do that, you know, you're forever looking over your shoulder for the police. Because if they get a hold of you and lock you up, you're not getting your heroin. And that's a fear, the anxiety that's always there for all addicts. But as soon as you got the drugs, I used to go back to my flat, lock the door, pull the blinds down, and sit and take my drugs, and then I was happy. And that was a daily routine. You know, that just became my life, where all this 7 years, certainly for 3 or 4 years of it anyway, I was a hermit. I was hiding away from everyone, family, friends. You know, I just wanted to be on my own because I was embarrassed and I was ashamed of who I had become. So, you know, you see Trainspotting, you mentioned Trainspotting there and stuff, and that's a great film. I've contacted the makers of Trainspotting probably about 200 times each. You'll not be surprised, right? Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I've messaged them and I've said, look, guys, like, I'm the proud author of Heroin to Hero, and my life is a real life Trainspotting. I'm going to be making a feature film. Why not get together and make a real life Trainspotting, or a Trainspotting 3? You know, and I've messaged them, I've bombarded them and said, look, Ewan McGregor never went and stood outside Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, Tower of London and St James's Palace. I says, but I did. Surely that's a story worth telling to the world. And news guys, obviously, or they do, you know, they have the ability to make that happen. I've not heard anything back, mate, but that's not to say that in the future I won't. I'll keep trying. I may have been muted due to the volume of messages I've sent on Instagram and Twitter. There is that chance as well, you know. But it's not through lack of trying on my part that I want to help change people's perception of heroin addicts. And I'm not saying for 1 second that heroin addicts don't lie, don't cheat, and don't steal. Of course they do. I'm just saying that there is different levels as individuals, different levels of what people will go to source money for drugs and stuff. So I think it's important not to brand everyone the same way and not to put everybody in the same boat, because you wouldn't do it in any other aspects of life. So we shouldn't really do it with heroin addicts. The reason I believe I struggle on social media, Liam, because of that word, heroin. It makes people run for the hills. Even train spotting, although it's about heroin use, would it have got where it got to if it had the word heroin in the title? Or maybe one, I don't know. I'll ask the guys when I do get a hold of them and say, look, was the film titled something with heroin in it, and you had to change it? Because I will be asked to change the title of my book, and I will be asked to change certain aspects of what I'm doing, because heroin instills fear into people. You know, and I believe that that's why I'm struggling. Not everyone has patched to me on social media. Like I said, they're like Leo Gregory and Callum Beattie and Billy Lockett and stuff. There's people that have acknowledged me. You know, and the boxers, but like Ben Jones coming down last year to do the boxing event with me, with the Gypsy Boxers, was amazing. What an experience. And I've had, you know, I get support from boxers, but in most part, people are scared, because if they are seen, that's my belief, if they are seen to be helping to promote my book, are they worried that they're going to be implied that they had heroin problems and that's why they're helping me? You know, and I think that people have got that fear, certainly the celebrities, that they don't want to be around the word heroin because it's such a sore subject for a lot of people in life. I won't change the title of my book. The title of the book is what it is. I will keep striving on and doing what I'm doing. And hopefully one day, soon, through these podcasts that I'm doing all across the world, all the interviews that I'm doing, all the meetings that I'm doing, someday we'll jump off the fence and they will say, do you know what, Paul? You know, you're looking for support to help get the book of your, the sales of your book up, to help the homeless people in Scotland, and I'm going to help you. Because guess what? I've got 2 million followers on Twitter, and if all I've got to do is take 30 seconds in my life and $12.99, which is what the book costs, I'd happily donate a copy as well. You know, of course, I have already done that with some people, but I never heard back from them. You know, that is all it would take. It's for one of these well-known people would be somebody to get the book, read it. It's a short read. Take a picture on social media, and then guess what happens? The book sales go through the roof because that said person has took a picture of it. I can take as many pictures of myself with the book as I want. I'm a relative nobody to people across the world at the moment. So, you know, my social media following is small in comparison to these guys that have got hundreds of thousands of followers on all the platforms. That's who I need to sort of jump off the fence and say, come on, Paul, we'll support you. We didn't want any money. You're not taking any money, so we're not going to take any money. Let's make a stink load of money for homeless people in Scotland. And yeah, and that's my dream, Liam. You know, that's my dream. I won't sway from it. Knockback after knockback. I'm still here a year later. I'm still as passionate as ever to get the job done. I will not give up, ever, you know. And it's just, it, it's just part of who I am. I used to call it stubbornness. And then my life coach, I've got a life coach at the moment, and she doesn't like me when I use that word. She says, think of another word. So now I am determined. I'm determined to see it through. And with help from people like yourself and everybody else that's doing a podcast with me, an interview with me, eventually I will get support and where I need it. And, and I will be able to make a lot of money through the book. And I'm also doing other charity events. The one that I done, the Pro Boxers charity event that I done last year, hope you didn't mind me talking about this. I'll be as quick as I can. So, Alfie MacArthur serves in the Scots Guards, and he's a professional boxer. He seen a video on my Facebook last year, and then he phoned me. He says, mate, that's amazing what you're doing. I want to help you. So he used some of his contacts that brought me on to Ben Duracell Jones and the three gypsy boxers that ended up attending. There was a PGA Tour golfer and an Olympic runner that came down, and a Latvian boxer called Chris Patz as well. Amazing guy. So all these professional boxers came down to Yorkshire Dales. I've travelled down from Scotland to meet them. Amazing bunch of guys. I had this vision with all these guys, like certainly Ben. It was like hearing his stories about his fights and all the belts that he's got and stuff. It was like amazing. I did spar with him, and I won. I won't say any more than that because I've got the live footage. Ben will testify to this as well. He was the one that told me, you won that. Own it, you can have it. I've got the footage on my phone that nobody's seen yet. I'm saving it. Because, I spent a lot of my savings to put that event on because the book had only just been published. So I spent my own money. And it flopped because it was only on Facebook. I set up a GoFundMe page and I think I took in £475 and I spent £3,000 in my savings. So that was a lesson learned. Like I've spent all this money to put this event on, and I only made £475 back. So it's like disheartening. It's a lesson, it's a life lesson, but it's really disheartening. But I do still have all this unseen footage on my phone that if anybody's watching that is an editor that is able to take these 53 short videos that I have, some amazing ones of Ben and the other boxers, put it together, make a DVD or something, sell it for UK homelessness and the NHS. That's who that event was for. Again, I do believe that my time will come when I can make this amazing DVD or an online event. And that's what sort of brought me to the boxing world on Facebook. After that event, I added thousands of boxers. I've never met them. They accepted my friend's requests, martial artists as well. I've got people on my phone that I've never met. When you put in their name, I've got 1,012 mutual friends. Like how that's even possible, but it's amazing. They've all accepted my friend's request, and some of them have seen me on social media and wish me the best, and they think it's amazing what I'm doing as well. That's all came about from that event last year, and I'm almost certain that's how we are doing this right now. That's how I've came across you. I'm certain of it. So I want to do more boxing events. Maybe in Scotland, maybe in Wales, maybe more in England or Ireland, anywhere. If we could put something together to make money for people that really need it, then I'm in. That's what I want to dedicate the rest of my life doing. as helping people with addiction problems and also helping people through the sale of my book, the homeless people, because I really care about them as well. So, yeah, sorry, I talk for Scotland, be honest.
It's incredible though, Paul. Like I said before, I mean, what's really cool is I had just some bullet points here, you know, to talk about, and we've covered. I mean, to be honest, we've covered a lot of them. I mean, the only other thing I would say is one other thing before we go, because I mean, we've got plenty here for people to get a real good insight into you and a real good insight into what you do, and obviously to help you out. So, for people, anyone watching this, help Paul out any way you can. I would say that obviously proudest moments, because we talked a little bit about the heroin and recovery, and we talked about some of the ideas that you've done and some of the ideas that are yet to come. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of your proudest moments, you know, while you were in the army, while you were with the Scots Guards, some of those moments when, you know, you were recognized for your achievements. And I just want to give that a real quick mention just to show people how much you've turned it around. And it's quite obvious you have turned it around a lot, but I really think that shows. So I want to give that a quick mention, and then I think we'll wrap, because honestly, we've covered some powerful when an interview sort of exceeds your expectations, you know, when you know it's going to be good, like I knew this would be good, but when it's gone like beyond that, it's a really, really good feeling. And this interview's, you know, given me that feeling, and I really think it will give a lot of other people that feeling. But I just thought before we wrap it up, I couldn't leave it without just a couple of your proudest moments, you know, in the army, and then we're good, I think, Paul. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so pride. So, of course, I was ashamed and embarrassed about who I'd become. And 17 years ago, when I gave up heroin, my mum and dad, who I used to go and visit every day, I remember them telling me how proud they were that I had broken free from my heroin addiction. I didn't feel it in there at all. I was still hurting that I'd caused them so much pain. Then I started to get fit, you know, taking up the boxing, doing weights and all that sort of stuff. Then I came and joined the army. And I remember my mum and dad crying, well, my mum crying. My dad was maybe crying as well, actually, I don't know, but my mum certainly crying, how proud when she came down to Cataract, my passing out parade, and she seen me marching around the drill square in my red tunic, and my rifle. And this is a thing that throughout my life, people have always assumed that I was proud in myself. And in actual fact, I wasn't. There was elements of pride. The first one that I remember was the very first time being posted onto Buckingham Palace. I remember it being dark. I remember the sergeant taking me out, you know, and getting and doing all my rifle drills and stuff, and then they go away. Then I'm standing on one post on Buckingham Palace. And then after 5 minutes, I'm going to move. And I remember moving, and the iron gates light up, the flashing, like paparazzi everywhere. That's what it was like. It was just like all these camera flashes were going off. And it was because I was moving. Me, little old me. And it was like, I remember after all the flashing stopped and I'm standing there, statue-like as you do. And I remember just sitting reflecting and thinking, wow, like a few years ago, I'm contemplating suicide. And I'm in absolute turmoil in life and I know what to be here. And look at me now, like all these hundreds, maybe thousands of people wanted to take pictures of me. And it's like, it was like a surreal moment. There was elements of pride, Liam. I did feel pride. But I know now how true pride feels. And that true pride hit me like a steam train when I wrote this book and I decided to give all the money away. I felt it in there like I've never felt it before, not in the army, not getting off heroin. I felt it in there, like that warmth, like, good for you. It doesn't matter what people think of you, how you sound, how you look, like, good for you. And I feel that inside, that I'm properly proud of myself now, that, you know, I've opened myself up for all these attacks from negative people, in the hope to help people who really need it. So that pride that I feel now, I've never really felt it before. So hopefully that answers your question, is that I was proud being a guardsman. I always will be proud being a guardsman. It's an amazing achievement for anybody in normal life to achieve, let alone be a heroin addict and go and do it. So I'm massively proud of myself for that. But the book and doing what I'm doing now to sort of help addicts and help change people's minds and stuff and help the homeless people, that really does fill me with some warmth and pride. And long may that continue, and I'm sure it will.
I'm sure it will, Paul. I'm absolutely positive it will. I really believe, I'm not just saying this now because I'm not like that, but I really believe that it's on the up and up for you, you know. And I know it's a struggle to sort of get that momentum and to give it that first push and to get, you know, because I've done things like that myself in the past. And when when you're starting off giving it that first push, you know, it's not easy, but it gets easier. And the more attraction and the more people, you know, learn about what you're doing, the better. And I really hope and believe that this interview will help. You know, even if it's just a few more people who haven't heard of your story and they don't know about your story, you know, it all helps. So definitely. Like I said before, also it's been an absolute pleasure, and this has exceeded my expectations because, and it's not just because I wrote these questions and we covered them all, you know, like in a couple of you know, sections in a couple of questions, but it's just the fact you've been so open, so honest, and you've given people a different insight. And anybody listening to this, watching this, that wants to know more about this, honestly, buy the book. Paul has said, you know, where the proceeds go, you know, how it happens. Heroin to Hero, guys, honestly, and it's not much to help out a good cause. So, but on that note, Paul, I am going to say, obviously, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it. I knew I would, but you know, really enjoyed it. Hope you have as well, and I'm sure that many other people will. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Liam.
I'm just going to. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.